If you're planning to move to Spain but feel overwhelmed by all the research and preparation, don't worry, I got your back. I've studied and worked in Spain before, and 2 months ago my husband and I moved from the US here to live permanently. I know the quirks of living in Spain very well, and that's why I decided to make this video so that I can help you figure out what are the 10 most important things to know before you move to Spain, so that your relocation goes as smoothly as possible. Stay till the end of this video as I will share with you what type of visa we chose and why. Let's get started. My first tip would be do your research about cost of living. Although generally cost of living is much lower in Spain than comparing to the US or the UK, it still differs by region. Major cities like Madrid or Barcelona are more expensive than other smaller cities or rural areas. In this case, websites like Numbeo and Expatistan will be a great help. They will compare for you basic categories like food, housing, clothes, transportation, personal care, and entertainment. When we were comparing cost of living between Raleigh, where we lived in the US, and Valencia, we were shocked to see that Valencia was cheaper than Raleigh by 40%. However, I would still recommend you to remain humble and create a detailed budget that would include rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and entertainment expenses. You can use free mobile apps like Money Manager for Androids or Money Patrol, but I'm an old school girl and I'm using just automated spreadsheets on my Apple tablet, and it does a job. Choose a neighborhood that fits your lifestyle and budget. Explore neighborhoods online, just walking on Google Maps, and once you're here, go and look around. Just know that whatever neighborhood you choose, you'll have the proximity to all the necessary amenities, unlike in the US. Although Spain is considered to be a safe country, check the crime rates of each city. I was using a website called Hood Maps to see what areas are more expensive, less safe, or more touristy. It is a very cool website where each neighborhood is described with a funny slogan and is colored by areas. If it's an area where local people live, or hipsters, or rich people, you get the idea. I will drop the link in the description down below for you to check it out. The rental market in Spain is just difficult to navigate. I don't know how historically that happened, but tenants tend to have stronger rights by Spanish law than the landlords. And that just creates so many difficulties. If you haven't heard about ocupas, I'll tell you briefly. These are people that illegally occupy apartments and homes without the owner's permission, meaning that you leave your rental property for a few weeks, go travel, come back, and there are squatters in your apartment. And if they are more than 48 hours there, you can't just easily shoo them away. You need to go through a legal long process. I don't know why the government doesn't do anything with it. It just creates so much distrust between the landlord and the tenant. You basically have to reassure them that you are a normal dude. That's also why they ask for so many documents. Your passports, NIE, bank statements, proof of income, your previous references. In some cases, they even don't want to talk to you if you don't have a stable Spanish job that provides you with nomina. Look for apartments on such platforms as Idealista, Fotocasa, and Pisos.com. Some of the listings will be published by the owners directly, which is the best thing, and some of them by the real estate agencies. You may encounter difficulties with speaking English with them, and remember that real estate agencies will take a fee for their services, 1 month of rent price. If you're planning on becoming a resident eventually and applying for TIA card, you need to be looking for long-term apartments where the lease can be renewed annually. If you need a short-term rental for the start, they're also available, but more expensive. You can also see them on Idealista, but I would recommend looking on websites like HomeSpace, is where we found our apartment, and Spot a Home. Learn basic Spanish. Even though some Spaniards speak English, especially in medium-sized and big cities, Knowing Spanish will help you integrate in the local culture more. What I mean by saying that is that you will find way more empathy, support, and help from Spanish people if you try at least speak with them basic Spanish. Although locals treat expats and foreigners well, lately I've noticed that Spanish people are getting tired not only from ignorant tourists, but also from expats that don't want to integrate with Spanish culture, flush with their money, and don't want to learn their language. So my 3 advice would be: first, language courses or private lessons with a teacher. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Rosetta Stone can be helpful. My husband, for example, learned basic conversational Spanish just on Duolingo. But I actually prefer more traditional ways of learning the language, like courses or private lessons with the teacher. My first Spanish teacher was strict, and she would basically throw me in the ocean without teaching me how to swim first. She would basically connect me randomly with Spanish speakers from all over the world on Skype, give us the topic, and just observe how we talk. It did improve my conversational skills, but I'm not sure this is the way to go, as I was mentally drained after each lesson with her. Second, try to practice Spanish bit by bit every day. Talk to the locals, watch Spanish TV, podcasts, music, anything. If you didn't know, you can watch for free movies and series on Spanish channel RTVE. And lastly, look for the tandems. There is a website called Tandem. It is specifically made for language exchange and it is free. You just insert what language you want to learn and in which city you are, and then look what language other people are offering and which language they want to learn instead. You can meet up with a person in real life or just talk online. This is also a great way to find friends. I'm still in good relationship with the person who helped with my Spanish 5 years ago. Familiarize yourself with Spanish culture. You may think, well, it's obvious, but sometimes we get stuck in our own expat bubbles and rarely communicate with locals. Or we start to resent the culture, and mainly because we are missing the knowledge about it. That's why, for your own good, embrace the local culture and traditions and get familiarized with such festivals as La Semana Santa, Las Fallas, or La Tomatina. A lot of crazy things happen everywhere in the city for a few days, and it's just more comfortable for you to know what to expect and what can happen. Learn about social customs like the importance of greetings by kissing both cheeks, in what hours to have meals, and the concept of sobremesa, the leisure dining. Here there is no such a thing that you have only 2 hours available for your dinner with a table reservation like in many places in the US. You can eat here from 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. if you wish. And not to mention the tipping culture. Unlike the US, tipping here is not mandatory and not expected in most situations. In the restaurants, tipping 5 up to 10% for good service is not mandatory but is appreciated. Many locals just round up the bill or leave a small change. And it's not necessary to tip taxi drivers, deliveries, hairdressers, or in the bars, or even if you just order a cup of coffee or buy an ice cream. You can always round up to the nearest euro and you will be fine. Join expat communities. I don't recommend always remaining in an expat bubble, but being a part of expat community can be very helpful. They can provide with valuable support, give you advice, or you can even make friends there. I'm a part of different groups on Facebook, but it will be easier for me if I just mention them in the description below this video. They often do meetups or they gather to work all together. You can get support with housing, with job search, or just navigating Spanish bureaucracy. Open a Spanish bank account. Look into banks that are mostly chosen by foreigners, such as Santander, BBVA, or CaixaBank. Some of these banks offer English-speaking services, which can be very helpful. N26 Bank is mostly chosen by expats because I think it's the easiest bank to open a bank account with. You don't need a bunch of different papers, and they also have lower fees. But if you go with N26 Bank, I still would recommend you to have a local one too, as many Spanish landlords would ask for a local bank account. And also that can be beneficial if you want to apply for a mortgage, loan, or credit cards. There are actually two types of bank accounts here in Spain: for residents who plan to work, study, or retire in Spain, and non-residents, perfect for those who plan to stay in Spain less than 183 days and need a bank account for business, property ownership, or for regular visits. Be prepared to bring a lot of papers to open a bank account and get an appointment. But be aware that you may encounter a loop where in order to open a Spanish bank account, you will need a rental agreement. But in order to get a rental agreement, landlords will often require you to have a Spanish bank account. It's a catch-22. In this case, I would suggest you to negotiate with your landlord or open a bank account with N26 Bank that will provide you with an IBAN number. Get health insurance. I want to make it clear from the start: non-EU residents who are legally employed in Spain or are self-employed and are contributing to social security system gain access to free public healthcare with no co-payments. You need private insurance if you're planning purchasing a property for golden visa, or you're an international student who plan to study in Spain more than 90 days, or you're applying for non-lucrative visa where you can live in Spain without working with just sufficient passive income. It's true that with private insurance, you gain faster access to specialists, and you can also choose English-speaking doctors, and dental coverage in most cases will be also included in your insurance package. Here are some companies to keep in mind if you decided to go with the private insurance. The difference between them will be mostly in the network size, co-payment structures, dental coverage, and of course price. Prepare for bureaucracy. Navigating Spanish bureaucracy can be challenging, especially if you don't speak Spanish or you don't have lawyers who can guide you through the process. But here are some tips on how to make the process smoother. Make copies of everything, I mean everything, including your passport and NIE. Get your NIE as soon as possible. This number is crucial for many processes in Spain and will be asked everywhere. Use online pre-booked appointments, cita previa in Spanish, even for opening a bank account. Follow up regularly but politely. Do not put pressure on Spanish people. You won't achieve anything by that. Arrive early for appointments because some Spanish offices can be strict about appointment times, and be aware of siesta times. Always check opening hours. Many offices close in the early afternoon. Understand visa and residence requirements. As a tourist, you can stay in Spain under 90 days. If you wish to remain longer, you might consider different types of visas like student visa, work visa, retirement visa or non-lucrative, digital nomad visa, golden visa, family reunification visa, or startup visa. So what these visas have in common is that first of all, you need to show that you have enough income to live in Spain without requesting help from Spanish government. Always apply for NIE number if you're planning on staying in Spain long term, and purchase private insurance if you're not planning on working. As I promised in the beginning of this video, I will share with you what type of visa we chose with my husband when we moved from the US to Spain. So my husband works remotely, he's a freelancer, and we chose digital nomad visa to move here. The idea of this visa is that you have a client from abroad who sponsors you moving to Spain. Basically signs some papers that he's not against you working from abroad. Then you prove that you have sufficient funds to sustain yourself and your family, and you commit to paying taxes in Spain and contributing to social security system in Spain. This is relatively new visa. They just came up with it last year. And initially it grants you 3 years of residency, and later you can extend it again if you're satisfying all the requirements. And after living constantly in Spain 5 years, you can get a permanent residency. As you can see, there are a lot of things to take into account while moving to Spain. But remember, nothing is an obstacle if you really want to achieve something. This is it for today. I hope you liked this video. I tried to mention as many topics as I could based on my experience. If you like this video, don't forget to leave thumbs up and subscribe for more videos about Spain. And I see you next week. Hasta pronto!